I've always been relatively interested in the topic of animation and YouTube together. I've done a bunch of videos relating to those things in the past, but something that I've never really touched on is animated series on YouTube. They can vary from anywhere to very professional to things that are, not so professional, but it's a really good platform for independent small animators to kind of work from. I think in the recent years it has been not so good because, various reasons. But yeah, so when I first heard about Vivzie Pop's Hazbin Hotel series, I was interested. Vivzie Pop is an independent animator on YouTube who has been on the platform for like a solid amount of time, and I've always sort of followed her work in a way. I first found her through her Timber video, which is her SVA thesis film, and I used to absolutely love that video. I would watch it like 5 times a day. I would be so just obsessed with it. And that's how I really got into art colleges and all that. And she also had a webcomic for a while called Zoophobia, not related to Zootopia. And I used to follow that too, but then it kind of just died. And it just whispered and shriveled away, never to be seen again. And then Vivzie started working on Hazbin Hotel. So this is not a new thing. She's been talking about it for 4 years now. But Hazbin Hotel, the actual pilot animation episode, just got released a couple weeks ago. And I was pretty interested, I know that Vivzie Pop has been involved in multiple controversies in the past. I've tried to stay out of it, and even for a solid amount of time I haven't really followed her at all because she kind of stopped making everything that I was interested in, so there's that. But we're not talking about that today. We're gonna actually talk about Hazbin Hotel, and basically what I'm going to be asking is, does it hold up? Is it good? Because I think Vivzie is very talented. Whatever your opinion of her, she's a good artist and she's a good animator. And she's working with a team of animators and writers and all this stuff. So I had pretty high hopes and expectations for this to be, pretty good. And I was pretty disappointed, not gonna lie. Now, I don't hate it, but I don't love it. And I think it could have had a lot more. It had a lot of potential, and I just think it could have been so much more than it was. So let's talk about it. I basically, when watching it, the first thing that stuck out to me, which will stick out to most people, is the animation. And I actually don't have a lot of gripes with the animation. It's obviously a pretty low budget project with not a whole lot of animators, and not all these animators are experienced professionals in the industry. So I kind of went into it thinking to myself, okay, it's okay if not all the animation is great, and some of it was better in some parts than other parts, but that didn't really bother me that much. I mean, maybe it's because I'm an independent animator, but I was not really bothered by that much. Another thing is the character designs, which I also did not have that much of a problem with. However, I have to say the entire layout of Hell in this just seems a little bit too monochromatic. Yes, I understand that it's Hell and it's going to be dark and red and all of that, but everything, even including most of the character designs, blend in so well with the environment and everything around it. It's almost too good. It's really hard in some places to understand what's going on because the environment around it is just the characters don't stick out, basically. And I think a lot of the character designs were kind of overcomplicated. If you're going to be animating a pretty low-budget indie animation pilot, you don't want to have super complicated designs. And I think that if Vivzie had chosen to go with less complicated designs, it would have probably been a lot easier. And maybe they could have focused more on things like, the story, which was probably the weakest part, gotta say. The story and the character designs, I think, are the weakest part. I don't think the concept is bad. I actually quite like the concept. I just don't like the execution of it. So Charlie and Vaggie, their relationship is not bad, but I just kept watching it and thinking, they are exactly like Rapunzel and Cassandra from Tangled the series. That is exactly what they were. And now I found out afterwards that they're actually girlfriends. However, I don't think that that was ever really brought up enough in the pilot. Like, the way they kind of structured it, it was ambiguous to me. I did not see anything that specifically, gave me information that they were girlfriends. They could have been girlfriends, they could have just been friends. It was pretty ambiguous, and if it wasn't for me hearing that from other people, I probably never would have known. I felt like also they were kind of one-dimensional. And I mean, I understand that it's just one episode, but also it's a half-hour pilot episode. You could get at least some, maybe more characterization to them. I felt like Charlie was basically just Rapunzel from Rapunzel's Tangled Adventure. Like, she just reminded me so much of that. She's like this happy-go-lucky princess, literally a happy-go-lucky princess who just wants to make everybody's lives better and sings. There's nothing necessarily wrong with that. It's just a very common character archetype, and I felt like it could have maybe been more unique or more changed, because you don't want the main character of your series be that flat and one-dimensional. And Vaggie was just very similar to Cassandra, but that's just something that I just noticed while watching the pilot, and that just stuck out to me the entire time. I was like, okay. My favorite character was probably Alistair, the radio demon. He's a fun character, not gonna lie. I think he's probably the most creative of all of the characters, like his concept. I like the whole radio voice thing. I think that's cool. But he felt like a background character, I'm not gonna lie. Like, if it weren't for the fact that, he showed up and did all this stuff, if I'd have just seen him in the background, like how he was appearing before that, I just would have assumed, okay, he's a background character, because his design doesn't really stick out. And when you're making a main character like that, your designs want to stick out, you know what I mean? So I think that could have been made more apparent. Another thing that didn't really sit well with me was, Hell was not very delved into. Like, we have this established crisis of overpopulation, and the denizens of Hell are being slaughtered, I guess, because overpopulation, but that leaves so many questions. How are they being killed? Where is this overpopulation you speak of? Whenever there's like shots of Hell, there's like nothing, there's like a few demons, but there's not like, like overcrowding, or doesn't look very full, which could be, okay. Which is probably part of the limitation of the budget and animators. But even then, I mean, maybe you should know that beforehand and not make that the premise of your story. I don't know. It just didn't really... If Charlie hadn't have said that, again, this is more of a show don't tell thing. If Charlie hadn't have said, my people are being slaughtered, I would have been like, huh? What's going on? Because nothing in any of the shots or anything is really conveying that. Another thing I thought was just kind of random. Mr. Pentulus? I think that's his name? No. The stereotypical, like, bad guy thing who wants to blow up everybody. I mean, that was cool, but he was so unnecessary, and he didn't really relate to anything else in the story, and I felt like he didn't need to be in the pilot. The other thing was the girl that was hanging out with Angel Dust, who was throwing the bombs at Mr. Pentulus. What was her deal? She just was there, and then she didn't really do anything else in the plot. I felt like a lot of things were just shoved into this to make it so full and action-packed, and no, I didn't really understand why some things needed to be in there. There's that. I also think the scene transitions were pretty hard to, like, understand at first. There was one that stuck out to me where the transition to where Charlie and Vaggie are in the car from the past scene, it didn't really process in my mind for whatever reason until a few seconds afterwards that the scene had changed, because I think this is another problem with the backgrounds, the colors and everything. The car driving along the road just didn't stand out. The colors and everything are just so monochrome, and nothing really stood out. They had a lot of people working on this, and from what I saw in the credits, there were at least 3 different writers, and I mean, they could have done a lot better, including Vivzie Pop herself was on as one of the writers, and I think that, I mean, if I can see all these flaws just like from watching it, I didn't even like really dissect it when I was watching it, I was just watching it, and I was like, what is going on? Like, I could just notice these things right off the bat, then I feel like that's kind of poor writing. So I think they really need to work on their writing skills, especially Vivzie if she wants to write shows in the future. She really needs to work on her story writing and storytelling abilities. I know she's mostly known for her animations and character designs, and those are definitely her strong suits. She's good at making character designs, however, I think one of her downfalls is that all of her character designs are very similar and very detailed. All of the characters, basically, they had the same body type, more or less kind of like the same features to an extent. Some of them were different, but there wasn't any real juxtaposition to any of the character designs. Vivzie Pop isn't new to the industry or anything, or else I would give her more of a break, because she graduated from SVA. She's worked on web series before, I believe, and she's done all these things. She's not new to writing or making animations or anything, so I feel like for what it's worth, it could have been a lot better. And yeah, so I actually didn't have a problem with the humor in it at all. I didn't think it was overly funny, but I didn't think it was like annoying. I mean, it's supposed to be pretty raunchy, it's an adult cartoon. I didn't think it was that bad for what it's worth, but I think it could have been a lot better. I hope that it does get picked up or something by a studio, because it does look like a pretty interesting concept, and I feel like in the right hands it could be a lot better than it is. I think that's where I'm gonna end this. Just a ramble. So I'm an artist and animator. If you want to follow me on DeviantArt, my @ there is Ocean Rush, and on Instagram it's _Ocean Rush. I post art, even though I'm pretty busy right now, so I can't make a lot of videos. I do post art pretty frequently. And yeah, so there you go. Do that like, subscribe stuff, and I'll see you guys later. Bye!